Advancing the scientific and scholarly study of aging and promoting human welfare in all areas of gerontology, the core missions of GSA. This week, thousands are gathering in Austin, Texas to present, learn, and find new collaborations at the GSA 2019 Annual Scientific Meeting. Join us as we cover one of the largest and most interdisciplinary annual meetings in the world for gerontology. We are GSA Spotlight TV. Hello and welcome back to another episode of GSA Spotlight TV. I'm your host, Leslie Rohde. Well, it's been a great week so far in Austin. We hope you've been enjoying our coverage, and we have new interviews for you today. Here's a preview of what's coming up in today's show.
That's right. GSA was founded in 1945, and so next year will be the 75th anniversary. Our meeting will be in Philadelphia, and we want to have a big celebration.
Leslie, it's a treat to be here at GSA's scientific meeting, but really wonderful to be with you this morning.
Thank you so much. First, we speak with the president of the AARP Foundation. We're so honored to be joined now by Lisa Marsh Ryerson, president of the AARP Foundation. Thanks for being here.
Leslie, it's a treat to be here at GSA's scientific meeting, but really wonderful to be with you this morning.
Thank you so much. Well, you're moderating a session about income security. Can you give us an overview of what you'll be talking about?
Yeah, I'm really happy to have this opportunity to talk with you. We have a panel, a momentum session this afternoon at 3:30 at the conference. We're talking about income security and financial stability as the ultimate social determinant of health. Knowing that, isn't it terrific that so many people have the possibility for longevity and that the population is aging? That is important for communities across the nation. But for many people, longer lives will be poorer lives, and that's what we'll be addressing at today's session.
Let's talk a little bit more about how income security actually relates to health long term.
Yes. You know, in our nation alone, there are 10 million people who are 50 or older who are already living in poverty, and 37 million older adults who are one life event away from financial disaster and from dropping into poverty. And so when you think about it, Leslie, if you do not have enough income to meet the basic essentials, it is facing impossible choices every day. Do I pay my rent? Do I buy my medicine? Do I pay my utility bill? Do I buy my food? And so of course this relates to health. In the area of hunger, hunger is health. Food is medicine. We want individuals to have the resources they need across the lifespan so that they can take care of preventive health and chronic disease.
And I would imagine too, when you have to start talking about getting care for these people as they age.
That's right.
That's a huge part of income security.
Oh, absolutely it is. And for low-income people and their caregivers, so many caregivers become financial caregivers. So these are multi-generational concerns. But in this nation, remember the recent study that came out by the Federal Reserve, 40% of adults do not have $400 in emergency savings. So we have to come together to work on these issues and ensure that older adults have access to economic opportunity, good family-sustaining, wage-paying jobs, and access to tools and services so that they too can save and plan and meet their basic needs. Low-income people are at higher risk for preventable health conditions. That is unacceptable in this nation.
I can understand why this is so important to be talking about at this specific conference. What do you want members to take away from this session?
Well, it'll be an exciting session, and I have colleagues who are here from JPMorgan Chase, Yanira Cruz from the National Hispanic Council on Aging, Kevin Prindeville, the Executive Director of Justice and Aging, and Nan Gibson, as I said, from Chase. So we're going to be talking about this as a multi-sector issue, talking about the fact that for people of color, those who are older, these are heightened issues. We have to address equity and the fact that systemic discrimination and indifference is a huge part of poverty for older adults. And Kevin will be talking about issues in the courts and justice as it relates. So I want them to take away the importance of research in this area and action.
Great. Lisa Marsh Ryerson, thank you so much for
Always
being with us.
Great to be here and great to talk to you, Leslie.
Thanks. Thank you to Ms. Ryerson for talking to us about that important issue. Now, in addition to having the opportunity to interview the big newsmakers at this annual meeting, we'll also take you on a tour of a few of the organizations doing important work in gerontology. Here's a look at who we'll be showing you today.
We are at the Texas A&M Center for Population Health and Aging. We are a research institute that focuses on the health of older adults and actually improving the health across the life course to be able to help older adults, their caregivers, their care networks to better meet their needs, live longer, healthier lives.
There's an old adage, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Helping people do the best they can at older ages is an important goal for us as a society, for physicians, and for health researchers like us.
My name is Lotta Granholm Bentley. I'm a professor in biology, and I'm also the executive director for the Nobel Institute for Healthy Aging at DU. We call it KIHA for short.
We are on the top of the engineering building with facilitate and promote collaboration with engineers.
There's a pervasive attitude about aging as a single process of decline, but the truth is that aging is actually a very complex, rich story, a rich process that includes growth and development as well as decline. We're really familiar with how our bodies change over time, where maybe we can't do the things that we used to be able to do, but there's also tremendous amounts of growth that we have. That's not a part of the story that we tend to talk about.
The mission of the Fordham University Ravin Center on Aging is really to empower social workers and other healthcare professionals to make a difference in the lives of older adults, family members, and all generations. And what we do is we partner with many different agencies on different projects, and also working with students, faculty members, and community members to effect change.
We begin right here in Texas.
We are at the Texas A&M Center for Population Health and Aging. We are a research institute that focuses on the health of older adults and actually improving the health across the life course to be able to help older adults, their caregivers, their care networks to better meet their needs, live longer, healthier lives.
What I do here is really to work to promote aging is something that happens within our center, within the university, within the state, and then nationally and globally. So I really work to have people understand how it is that we can make healthy aging the new normal.
We focus on the practice of actually being able to bridge that gap between campus or academic with the community by providing programs within the community that are what we call evidence-based programs. And these programs that were formed within a community but provided in the community in small group settings where, as long as there is an adherence to the fidelity of the program and the structure of the program, then the results will have a long-lasting effect for the participants of the program.
Here at Texas A&M, we have had a partnership for almost 20 years, a little short of 20 years. We've been partnering together to better serve seniors, to help our seniors become educated, informed, and to be active in their community. The professors as well as the students here assist us in the community, cover more area, address more issues, and to serve more individuals. We don't have the staff to go out to the different senior centers and provide educational programs. Programs like A Matter of Balance, our chronic disease self-management program.
The research really breaks up into many different focal areas. So one of our biggest focal areas is understanding about community and worksite wellness. Or another area is understanding geriatric care. What are the conditions that you associate with aging? So research that we do around Alzheimer's disease and dementia. We're also interested in healthy communities. How can we build healthy communities for aging? So we actually are working in communities here in the Brazos Valley as well as in Austin.
We see remarkable results. It's interesting because people that you don't really think would be interested in the class, come back and really do a 360-degree turnaround. It's amazing what you do with a little bit of encouragement and support. When people come back to you and really ask you questions one-on-one, you get remarkable feedback from them, and they express their concerns, they express their questions, you answer their questions, and then they go and do remarkable things. They come back with weight loss of 20, 30 pounds. Their A1Cs are much more manageable, and they really have better overall health.
The best part about these evidence-based programs is that they are effective. And another great aspect is that they reach hundreds and thousands of lives each and every single year. But the problem is that we have millions and millions of older adults who need these services. So as effective as they are, there needs to be dissemination and implementation efforts to grow and reach and sustain these programs so that they can meet the needs of vulnerable populations.
The biggest challenge to success for these kind of programs is the integration of the programs, and to understand that things that are so simple and can be done well and inexpensively can have a huge impact for them, whether it's reducing those healthcare costs, improving the health of people, even reducing the burden of the healthcare professionals. So it's getting them to the table, but once they come to the table, they're completely on board.
The outcomes for these interventions, these programs are extremely effective. They have been shown to prevent injurious falls and related deaths, but they have been shown to increase the efficacy, the confidence that an older adult can prevent a fall and manage a fall if one does occur.
Our mantra in this center is active for life. It's active for life, everyone, every age, every day. We believe this is the way that we will make healthy aging the new normal.
We're so honored to be joined now by Dr. Rosemary Bleesner, who is the former GSA president and also leading the 75th anniversary work group. This will be a big event next year.
That's right. GSA was founded in 1945, and so next year will be the 75th anniversary. Our meeting will be in Philadelphia, and we want to have a big celebration.
Well, what can people look forward to at that event?
Well, actually, we've already started planning, and the editors of all of our journals are going to have some featured articles in their journals over the course of the year. So that'll be coming up. At the conference itself, we're going to invite people to present programming, symposium, activities that will reflect the theme of the 75th year, which is honor the past, enrich the future.
Perfect. So will the conference be larger or longer next year because of the 75th?
Oh, no, it'll be the same. It'll be the same, but we'll just have some featured programming at that meeting. And opportunities also along the way, because members can do celebration activities at their own workplace or their own campus. And so they might want to have a special speaker or an event, with the students, and just have that idea of thinking about our legacy, but also thinking about where we're going in the future.
So all of this, but maybe even leading up to next year.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand. Why is this anniversary so important to GSA and the members?
Well, over the years, of course, we've done a lot of research that has a positive impact on the lives of older people. And we want to get the word out, and we want to continue doing that and think about what are the next steps in research that we need to do. And also think about the future generations of the researchers, so if we can gather resources that we can do programming for the student and new professional members of our organization, that's a way of sort of building on that legacy, but looking to the future as well.
As you look to the future next year, what are you hoping that members will take away from the 75th celebration?
I think an appreciation for the work that has been done with this idea of where do we need to go next. And I think we get that from the conferences each year anyway, but this will just be a special way of focusing on that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bleasner, for sharing some of this information. We have a lot to look forward to next year.
Thank you.
Next, we take a look at the important work of NSHAP.
There's an old adage, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Helping people do the best they can at older ages is an important goal for us as a society, for physicians, and for health researchers like us. The National Institutes of Health have made it a focus to understand aging and disease.
The University of Chicago is unusual in that it has, as part of the university, a major social research organization, NORC. Most of NORC's work has to do with executing large federal data collection contracts. But it also has a tradition since its founding of collaborating with academic investigators to carry out academic research. And we value this collaboration with NORC as one of the great contributions to NSHAP and indeed to the execution of social science research.
The National Social Life, Health, and Aging Project is a study of older adults and healthy aging. NSHAP, as we call it, began in about 2000. This project was designed to understand how the social world affects other kinds of health and how other kinds of health affect the social world. We've discovered findings that were completely unexpected, that have changed the way we think about some relationships, some dimensions of health, and occasionally have changed medical care, medical practice, or policy as a result.
Among our investigators, we have statisticians, we have sociologists, we have physicians, we have psychologists. It brings together different ways of looking at the human condition.
My name is Louise Hockley, and I'm a senior research scientist.
I'm an epidemiologist.
I'm a statistician.
I'm a professor of medicine at the University of Chicago.
I'm particularly interested in women's reproductive health.
I focus on urban sociology.
I'm a professor of otolaryngology, head and neck surgery here at the University of Chicago.
Because the sense of smell system is very closely tied to brain function, we thought that as it declined, it may signal problems in our bodies and our health. So we looked in NSHAP to see whether sense of smell at the baseline assessment could predict mortality 5 years later, and indeed it did. Strongly predicted mortality, much stronger than major diseases like heart disease and cancer and COPD, which we know are really big predictors of mortality.
I'm Kate Cagney in the Department of Sociology at the University of Chicago, and the focus of my research is urban sociology, specifically neighborhood social context and its implications for older adult health and well-being. What we were able to do is to find some external data, particularly on the foreclosure crisis, and look at what difference it made that people lived through that period of time. And one of the things we were able to identify is that when people lived in neighborhoods with high rates of foreclosure, they developed depressive symptomatology over that interval. So it's important to note that these are not people who said that they felt depressed in wave one of our data. They really developed depression over the period. And it's not that they experienced their own foreclosure, they were surrounded by a social and physical circumstance where, neighborhoods became depopulated and resources became scarcer.
Because of my exposure to NSHAP, I pay more attention to how individual patients' social lives affect their health. You see that the isolated older person doesn't do as well. And you see families that are rich in social network that are able to keep someone healthy who otherwise wouldn't be healthy. As a doctor, you actually see the role of the social world on people's health, and it's quite gratifying. And so you see it in clinical practice, and then you go back to NSHAP and you say, can we find other connections between the social world and people's health?
One of the special focuses of NSHAP is on sexuality, on sexual behavior, sexual attitudes, sexual practices, satisfaction, and we've really been the leader in understanding sexuality and its implications at older ages.
One of the most important things about NCHAP is that we go to people across the whole country, all regions of the country, all socioeconomic classes, all races and ethnicities, and that we select the sample in a scientific way means that we, when we get our results from NCHAP, can generalize these to the whole population.
We distribute our data through the National Archive for Computerized Data on Aging at the University of Michigan. NCHAP was also one of the very first studies to participate in NACDA's new data portal project, and you can query and do basic analyses with the NCHAP data set right online, together with a number of helpful materials.
I think if any of us could pick one thing we wanted as we get older, we'd pick good health. Helping people achieve that goal, helping our society do everything it can to improve the health of older adults is good for us as individuals, it's good for families, and it's good for the society as a whole.
Now to Colorado and the Nobel Institute. It's focused on preventing rather than curing age-related neurological disorders. Here's a look.
My name is Lotta Granholm Bentley. I'm a professor in biology, and I'm also the executive director for the Nobel Institute for Healthy Aging at DU. We call it KIHA for short.
We are on the top of the engineering building with facilitate and promote collaboration with engineers.
I think it's quite unique for a center on aging to be located in an engineering building because we can focus on prevention.
There is a lot of bouncing of ideas, you know, when we meet in the hallways, and so that's why I like a lot about KIHA. Everybody can talk to, you know, like there is no like, oh, you're the boss, and yeah, there is nothing about that.
Every research group here, all the 10 people that are gathered at the Nobel Institute, they are ahead in their field.
My lab in particular is looking at different metabolites as a biomarker, and we're doing progression of the different neurological conditions, well, in particularly Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease, and now most recently ALS. We can develop algorithms with engineers that actually allow us to do prediction in the condition, but also early diagnosis.
I've been working on the biology of aging since 1974. I got one of the first grants that the National Institute on Aging ever gave out to do this work. And the work that we did that was funded by that grant led us to the hypothesis that people with Down syndrome age prematurely. About 80% of them will develop dementia of the Alzheimer's type by the time they're 60. And since the life expectancy of people with Down syndrome is going up and up, they represent, therefore, the largest genetically defined population that we know is at risk for Alzheimer's disease in the world.
What I decided to do early on is to link with other researchers, and now we have 10 different sites that are focused on bringing in brain tissue samples and bringing in blood samples from people with Down syndrome of different ages. And so it's a unique opportunity to see what happens when they're 10, when they're 20, when they're 40. What are the things that are preceding their dementia symptoms?
In this institute, we have expertise both from chemistry perspective as well as from biology perspective. So we have really a good critical mass to pursue that kind of research.
We have several different studies ongoing and several collaborations with neurologists as well as neurosurgeons looking at Alzheimer's, looking at concussion, as well as looking at Parkinson's disease. And so those kind of clinical collaborations are great because then we can actually do translational science. So things that we find in the lab that maybe work in cell culture models or mouse models can then progress to the clinic.
I collaborate with the Nobel Institute for Healthy Aging, and my research is on applying machine learning and artificial intelligence as well as robotics to help people with mental disabilities such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. People with dementia, oftentimes they are depressed, they are lonely, And because of the shortage of caregivers in senior living facilities, we use these social robots as a companion bots.
That was amazing.
I'm so happy to do all these.
Even though we are a research institute, we're also focused very much on outreach and on impact in society.
One of the programs that I'm really proud of that we did last fall was a collaborative project between the University of Denver. So we work with a photography professor here. He brought his class of freshman students to one of our community partners, Kavod Senior Life. They're an affordable living community for older adults, and they created this book that helps develop these social support systems for older and younger groups as they kind of go through life together.
Another exciting interdisciplinary project is the financial security project that we have. It involves both faculty and students from the law school, from business school, from social work, from psychology, and from the Nobel Institute.
There's a very significant connection between financial decision-making and cognitive function. That connection is essentially stemmed from research that we've known about for 10, 15, even 20 years. So these early markers, subtle markers in financial decision-making, can appear decades before we'd notice anything.
When we started the Nobel Institute, when I came here, we changed the name from Center for Studies of Aging to Healthy Aging. And that is key for KIHA, if I may say so. We think that the interdisciplinary groups we have here are able to touch on many aspects of successful aging. And it's quite unique to have that breadth of interest and to have these kind of unique research groups who can touch on all of these different aspects of aging. So I really think we will make an impact in society.
It's always important to get the attendees' take on things, so we headed to the convention center floor to ask this question.
Well, there's a lot of energy, for one thing. You get to go and listen to the people who you read about in books speak. You get to ask them questions directly. You sometimes get to go out and have coffee with them. The networking is terrific. There's a lot of public spaces, there's a lot of milling about, and you can run into the people that you admire and actually get to work with them. I've become acquainted with a lot of people I admired from afar, and now they're my colleagues. So it's always a terrific opportunity.
Well, I think the mentorship programs that I've been participating in, so I did a session this morning and there was a session all day on Wednesday. Fantastic. Best thing about GSA.
I think it's, bringing all these experts together on geriatrics research. It's kind of unique to see, this conference is definitely more focused on the research side as opposed to the clinical side, and as a researcher, it's very refreshing to see all different kinds of methods, different focuses on different relevant topics in geriatrics, and identifying potential collaborators too. So,
best part about GSA, you get to know the latest research, and then meet like-minded people, like meeting new and old friends at a GSA is cool.
Well, the best part of GSA for me is the opportunity to network and to meet with persons who are like-minded, doing similar research projects, and opportunity for potential collaboration.
The best part of this GSA meeting is the NIA is organizing a lot of workshops for early career researcher, and it's really helpful for an early career researcher like me.
It's my 40th GSA meeting, and I think the networking with colleagues and learning new things.
For our next profile, GSA Spotlight TV heads to the Virginia Commonwealth University's Department of Gerontology.
There's a pervasive attitude about aging as a single process of decline, but the truth is that aging is actually a very complex, rich story, a rich process that includes growth and development, as well as decline. We're really familiar with how our bodies change over time, where maybe we can't do the things that we used to be able to do, but there's also tremendous amounts of growth that we have. That's not a part of the story that we tend to talk about. So we have a singular focus and a singular story of aging, and that's what needs to change. The Department of Gerontology at VCU is a combination of an academic unit and a social movement all rolled into one. We have the only Masters of Gerontology program in the state of Virginia. We have a post-baccalaureate certificate in aging studies, and we have a dual certificate with School of Pharmacy and School of Social Work. We also have the only assisted living accredited administration program in the nation. Being a VCU gerontologist is different because we have two foundational principles that we use and that we embed in all of our research, our service, and our teaching. Those principles are disrupt ageism and aging into elderhood.
We tie together research, teaching, and engagement by ensuring that our research infuses what we teach in the classroom. So we have done research on ageism and on elderhood, and these inform the ways that we teach and what we teach in the classroom to students. Students have opportunities in the classroom to practice disrupting ageism and to explore the idea of elderhood as a distinct life stage. And then they have opportunities to practice these in the community through community placements and through work opportunities.
We consider community engagement or community outreach to be a part of all of our academic mandate. In the community, mostly what we're doing is focusing on dismantling those existing systems and disrupting those thoughts that exist about ageism. I've seen really wonderful impact from the Longevity Project, from our Age Wave initiative. Part of that is about workforce development. As we've mentioned, this notion of focusing on social connectedness has given us the opportunity to think very strategically about how we want to engage people across all sectors. But mostly, I think it has been about connectivity and connecting agencies and service providers that wouldn't normally be talking to each other. But if our goal is to promote longevity equity, we need to make sure that those groups are connected.
The department is interested in elderhood and ageism, and I've implemented them into my health behavior change research. So I do health behavior change and health promotion. So the idea of health promotion is basically improving people's health, not in the clinical setting, but in the community setting, empowering them with knowledge, I empower them with skills, and then I empower them with support to create health behavior change, or improving their medication safety by telling them about interactions that happen in the medication. I provide them value and support just to tell them that it's okay to change your health even in late life, because it'll help you improve your quality of life for many years to come.
Senior living has had quite a lot of growth and development over the recent years, but unfortunately it's still perceived as an industry that is characterized by poor quality of care. In addition to that, there is an issue with access because it's very expensive, and so we have this sort of expectation that we need to go into poverty in order to access some of these long-term care services and supports. The Aging Services Network fills gaps where individuals have needs. So, for example, if someone has a need with food insecurity or housing or healthcare. And in addition to those direct services, they provide a level of advocacy at the local, state, and national levels, addressing issues related to access and equity.
This isn't just about our current population of older people, this is about all of our future possible selves, and how we think about our future possible selves and how we think about each other.
Everybody has to find their own way of disrupting and find the courage to be able to do that in day-to-day social interactions, which is in fact where most ageism occurs and is perpetuated and recycled. It's the less disruptive thing to do to let it pass, but if we want to stop it, we do need to disrupt it.
The future of aging looks bright. We are in the midst of a longevity revolution. We have never in the history of the world lived this long and been this active, involved, and healthy. Technology has really created this longevity revolution, and we can only benefit from that. So the Department of Gerontology at VCU is dedicated to pushing the envelope on changing the narrative of the single story of aging is decline, and to educating students to create environments that are more person-centered, more inclusive, and more equitable.
Incredible work happening there. And now to another inspirational institution, Fordham University's Ravin Center on Aging and Intergenerational Studies. This center is nationally recognized for its work in the field of aging. Here's a more in-depth look at what they do.
The mission of the Fordham University Ravin Center on Aging is really to empower social workers and other healthcare professionals to make a difference in the lives of older adults, family members, and all generations. And what we do is we partner with many different agencies on different projects, and also working with students, faculty members, and community members to effect change.
It creates synergy that makes a very unique opportunity for us to develop knowledge and develop practices and further our understanding of older adults and their families.
As we know, the older adult population is the fastest growing segment of society. Age 85 and older are growing faster than any other part of society. So we felt that this was very important to look at the Ravin Center to help older people prepare as they age to talk with their physicians, their nurses, their social workers, to gather the information about how they could improve and keep quality of life in their health.
The Carter Burden Network collaboration with the Fordham Ravin Center on Aging is a wonderful opportunity for us to help educate our seniors about how best to communicate with a healthcare provider. We know that this is a very important aspect of overall health and wellness. I can say that the feedback we've received from our seniors has been overwhelmingly positive. They're always looking for ways to improve their overall health, but more importantly, it can help to empower them to be better advocates in taking care of their own health.
So another program we work on is Palliative Care, and we have the Palliative Care Fellowship at the Graduate School of Social Service, which is one of very few in the entire country. The Palliative Care Fellowship has a number of components. The heart of the fellowship is the internship that the students do, and they do this with experienced palliative social workers. They're working on inpatient palliative care teams in hospice, in oncology, long-term care, pediatrics, and then they take 2 courses, palliative social work and grief, loss, and bereavement. They meet with a career mentor throughout their fellowship year and in the year after to help them really strategize their career and to get that career going. There are a lot of patients out there who need specialty palliative services, and there's not enough trained social workers in the workforce to meet those needs. So this program is intended to contribute to that workforce.
What is important to look at is understanding outcomes. And in doing this, outcomes have to be measurable. And what we try to do in our research within the communities is helping agencies and organizations how to look at the change that they're desiring and how to see if it's really affecting change.
In my role as program director for Westchester County Department of Social Services, a federal grant called Westchester Building Futures, I spearhead along with an amazing team of researchers, direct service professionals, and community-based advocates, a grant that focuses on serving young people in foster care ages 14 to 21. Really, our purpose in the grant is to really think about ways in which we can improve outcomes for young people in care, really through the lens of youth, voice and choice, and equally importantly, family engagement. So that is, we're really working with all members of the family, from the grandparents to the younger siblings, and working with Dr. Jana Heyman, who's our principal investigator, and her leadership at the Ravin Center has really been a great partnership with the Westchester County Department of Social Services.
We train our coaches to help our many thousands of caregivers here in Westchester County to better care for their loved ones. The coaches are trained by healthcare professionals, so we have social workers, we have nurses, we have geriatric care managers that train our coaches.
The Ravin Center is really working on diverse caregiving initiatives. My own research is looking at long-distance caregiving. You know, we find that the average live 500 miles away. We have some caregivers in our sample that are international. And so we're trying to understand what the challenges are for them and what kind of services can support them in the role. And we work with the Ravin Center in terms of dissemination.
The Ravin Center is a great training ground for our students to learn about research, learn about understanding connecting research to social work and social work practice and policy, and they get them ready. That integrated approach is a real unique aspect of the Ravin Center.
I did 2 internships. So my first year I was able to work with high school students and gain more of an administrative experience. Whereas my second year, I kind of went to a different level and did more clinical work, working with older adults, and which also gave me a nice introduction to the Ravin Center, which is where I'm able to kind of put all that into use.
One area in particular that resonates with me is their focus on minority populations. And so one of the areas that they've started to explore a bit is looking at LGBT health and trying to focus in on the needs of LGBT seniors and how do you promote resiliency and positive health outcomes among the elderly population.
And what's critical is that we don't just do the research, but we replicate the research and then we see what works in practice and how not only do we take that practice, but what we learn from it, the lessons learned, and how we can affect that change, not only in the practice and the research, but in future policies and future policy decisions on a larger basis in communities, statewide, nationally, as well as internationally.
That's our coverage from this year's annual meeting in Austin. See you next year in Philadelphia.
Thank you.